Hey, how's it going? It's Sam Frost here from Easy PPC Tutorials, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to actually see where your ads have been running or are running in Google Ads. Now, this sounds really silly because obviously most of us are aware that there's location targeting within Google Ads, but depending on how you've set it up and how you've structured it, and depending on exactly what you're advertising and how you're doing it, the exact locations where your ads are running may vary quite substantially to what you actually thought was happening. So obviously you can go in when you set up your campaign and set the location targeting however you want it. So you can set the location targeting on country, city, possibly postcode, depending on where you live, radius targeting, all that stuff. And that's on the setup phase. But what if you actually want to review once you've gathered some data where the ads were actually showing? Or are actually showing for an active campaign. So I'll show you how to do that really quick. What I've got here is just a video campaign that was running in a few different countries. It's done running now, but it doesn't matter that the campaign's paused. The practice is exactly the same. So what we're going to do here is we'll just close this away and we're going to go and hit location. So I'm viewing the ad group part of the campaign interface, but it doesn't matter where you come from. If we went from overview, it would be exactly the same. But we're going to go anyway down into that campaign locations. And what we can see here is the locations that I'd actually targeted. So I targeted USA, UK, Canada, Australia, Singapore, and New Zealand. And depending on your familiarity with the AdWords interface or Google Ads interface, this might be totally new to you. You might not have seen this before. A lot of people don't actually realize that this is an option to even access this. They just assume that the location targeting is going to match exactly the locations that they've specified during the setup process. But as I mentioned at the start of this video, that is not always the case. If this is where you might see, for example, some results showing up that you just really weren't expecting to happen. So anyway, we've got our targeted locations here. These were the places we targeted. This is where I could do things like add a bid adjustment if I want. So if I thought, hey, I'm going to add a 20% bid adjustment to anyone in the United States because they're worth more to me than people in these other targeted locations, we can see impressions, views, view rate, depending on the type of campaign you've got, search, display, video. These little columns here will obviously differ. You'll be looking at click-through rates and CPCs as opposed to view rates and CPVs, and we can see the cost as well. And there's a nice little map as well, which is pretty cool. For some weird reason, it's not allowing me to zoom out any further, but we can scroll it around, which is great. But what we can do is go one step further and actually look at the geographic report and get into more granular detail. So what we're able to do is pop these up now. I'm not going to talk about the per store report because that's not relevant to what I'm doing here. But there are two reports here. There's the geographic report and the user location report. And there's a little tooltip for each. So the geographic report is going to show you the locations that triggered your ad to show based on the person being either physically located in the target location or showing a good deal of interest in that target location. And that's that sort of wishy-washy. What exactly is Google, defining as someone who's interested in the location? But that's a topic for another video anyway. And this one here, user location, that is the physical location of the person who has seen the ad or clicked the ad, regardless of what they're actually interested in. So we'll start with the user location report. So we'll open that up, and I've already got a predefined filter here set up, but what we'll do is we'll wait for this to load, and we'll see if we can change it. So we'll go back to all countries. Yeah, there you go. So we've got the user location report, and what we're going to do is basically see here similar kind of data to what we saw before, but we can go deeper and more in depth. So let's open up the United States, and then now we can have a look at this kind of information. We can say, right, in the United States, which states perform the best? Oh, here you go. We can order that now by impressions. So we can see that California, Texas, New York, Florida, Illinois, going down in that order, they were where had the most impressions of this particular ad. Obviously, we could change the columns to show cost per view and view rate and all those things. These are just some default columns. Now, you can do a whole lot of different stuff in here. You could add bid adjustments into the system. So we could actually add a bid adjustment. So we could add a bid adjustment for the state of Alaska. For some weird reason, I might really want to add a 20% bid adjustment, positive bid adjustment to Alaskan YouTube viewers, but I'm not going to do that, but I could do it. Equally, we could also exclude a location as well. So I could exclude now, if I hit and followed the instructions here, I could exclude my video ads in this campaign from showing to people in Alaska who have got the physical location of Alaska. So pretty clever, and at any point you can just go back and start reviewing again. So in New Zealand, I might want to look at individual cities where most people are based. So, I'd expect to see it map or follow the sort of country's geography, and it pretty much does. Auckland is the largest city by far, Christchurch next, Wellington after that, Hamilton, and it's just following the order down. But it's still really useful to be able to see this, because if you think, hey, my ad is not relevant to one of these locations, or it's super relevant to one of them and I want to bid more for it, well, you can use this interface to do so. And remember, there's also the geographic report as well. So the geographic report will show slightly different data because of the way Google classifies someone as possibly being interested in a location, even if they're not physically located there. So obviously we'll go to the United States again, and we can do the same thing. We can look at state, and we can review the data and act accordingly as well. Now, the reason you want to look at your location reporting and understand how it works, and at least understand how to access it, is because if you've set up your geographic targeting incorrectly during the setup process of your campaign, especially if you left that default option on, which is to show your ads to anyone who is in your targeted location, frequently traveling through it, or who shows an interest in the target location, you can wind up with some pretty whack stuff coming up location-wise. And when you use your geographic report, if the settings weren't done correctly, what you can find is all sorts of weird things happening with regards to where your ads are showing. So you'll go into your geographic report and you think, hey, I'm only advertising to these 5 countries or 6 countries. But then it turns out that there's people in India and Pakistan and Chile and Argentina who are seeing your ads, because the way Google's characterized them as being interested in the target locations. So understanding how this works and how to interact with the bid modifiers and everything is really important. If you found this useful, please do like and subscribe. So like the video, subscribe to this channel. I've got lots more PPC tutorials to come. I'm not laying claim to producing the world's highest quality videos in terms of production, but what I am trying to do is share useful advice in every single video I produce, and I'll be releasing videos almost on a daily basis as well. And also, if you need any further help, you can obviously feel free to leave a comment or email me on info@samfrost.co.nz. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.